Today's podcast episode is on location from the St. Raphael Retreat Center in Bryn Mawr, and I am delighted to welcome Patti O'Donnell, principal of St. Patrick's School in Malvern. Patti is a champion of inclusion, a participant in Notre Dame's ACE programs and their Principal Leadership Academy, and also a leader in my own Project Graces. She's one of the kindest, funniest, and most faithful people I know, with a love for Notre Dame, the beach, and her dog. We'll explore her vision for inclusive education, her work with Project Graces, and have some fun with the Holy Hot Seat segment. So let's get started. Hi, Philly faithful. My name is Maria Pardini, and welcome to the Graces of Catholic Education podcast, a place where grace shapes Catholic education one future saint at a time. The mission of this podcast is to build a faith-filled place for Philly's Catholic educators to share their faith, hear innovative practices for today's challenging classrooms, and be inspired by others who are tackling this wild and blessed ride of Catholic education. Join us as we explore the grace that guides us in forming the hearts and minds of Philly's future saints. Hello, Patti O'Donnell. How are you?
I'm doing well, Maria. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for being a guest on my show today on the Graces of Catholic Education podcast. This is a little bit of a different setup for us, but we're going to start at every episode like we do normally with a prayer, if that's okay with you.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, bless this day. Bless Patti, and we are so thankful that she agreed to be on the Graces of Catholic Education podcast. Bless this wonderful place that we are in, even though it's a little bit of a different setup at the St. Raphael Retreat House. Bless Patti as she is on her retreat. And as always, we do everything that we do in your name. And we ask the Holy Spirit to guide us through our podcast today. In your name, amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. All right. So again, thank you so much. You are the principal at St. Pat's in Malvern.
Yes.
So we start every episode the very same way, and it's how every conversation starts in Philly. So where are you from? Where'd you go to grade school? Where'd you go to high school? Tell us your information.
All right. So I am from New Jersey, grew up in New Jersey, Central Jersey, Flemington. And I went to grade school at Immaculate Conception in Somerville. There were no Catholic schools in where I live, not like in Philly where there's like one on every block. And then down the street in Somerville was the high school, Immaculata High School. And that was all taught by IHMs.
Okay. All right. So tell us, if you can share your journey, how you became how did you get to St. Pat's in Malvern? How did you become the principal there? Like, give me the whole history.
All right. So I was a teacher for 10 years and always knew from the time I was in seventh grade that I wanted to be a teacher. And then people asked me to go into leadership and to study to be a principal. And so I did that at Trenton State, which is now the College of New Jersey. And so I went to a couple different places as a principal. One of my favorite was in Virginia Beach.
Oh.
I was there for 9 years, and just a great community. And also being from a military family, there was like that military subculture down there. That was really cool. And then I came back to the area, and I was looking for a job.
Mm-hmm.
And did a couple of interviews, interviewed at St. Pat's, and I don't know, there was something about it that just really drew me towards it. And so I took the job there, and I think I just finished 16 years there.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to wonder, 16
Mm-hmm.
years. Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. So one of the things that's always struck me about you and about a lot of other people struck a lot of other people, in my office and just out there in the Catholic education world is your ability to build a school culture. Like when we think of school culture, we think of Patti O'Donnell being the guru of school culture. So I want to spend some time talking about school culture and inclusion, because that's really kind of what drew you and I together. So like I said, inclusion, I believe, is a core part of your school's culture. So how do you define inclusion in a Catholic school, and how do you make sure it's woven into the daily life at St. Pat's?
It's kind of evolved. In the beginning was the word. No.
Amen.
So I've always had a drawing or kind of like a passion for kids who learn differently. And I also had friends who were really good special ed teachers. So they kind of really influenced me. And when I came to St. Pat's, there was a lot of work to be done. And one of the areas that seemed to me was being able to meet the needs of all the learners. And when I first got there, it was more of these kids have to go to public school, we can't meet their need. And I always felt in my gut that there was something wrong with that. Mm-hmm. Like I knew we didn't have, the whole counseling department or the whole special ed department at St. Pat's, but I did think there was a better way to do things. And, I would say the first, like 2 or 3 years, probably the most painful incidents for me were when families had 2 or 3 kids, and then they were having to take a child out because, either teachers were saying, you need to go look at the public schools, or sometimes even some of the support staff. And I just knew that had to change. And so I just started to talk about it, like drop little breadcrumbs.
Planting seeds.
And I mean, that probably was, a 3-year, maybe 4-year process of breadcrumbs along the way. Talking about how could we meet the needs of other students, of students with different learning needs. And I finally got to the point where I was like, this is the bus. And the bus is going this way. Mm-hmm. And so there's an option. You can work with us, or you can, I'll write you a great recommendation. Mm-hmm. To move on. So, that's probably like about a 6-year process. Mm-hmm. And there were people who said, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. These kids don't belong here. And I did write them a recommendation. But then there were other teachers who were like, okay.
I feel like the light bulb went off for them too.
Yeah. And so then I started to look at speakers to come in and talk about kids with learning disabilities. 1 year at the NCEA, I saw the Notre Dame program, the Program for Inclusive Education for Catholic Schools. And I was like, And then I saw one at Boston College. Mm-hmm. And I, of course, was drawn to the Notre Dame one.
And we'll talk all about that and why.
But that was life-changing for me. And then I was able to send our learning support teacher through the program also. And then, just along the way, I don't know, you take you take 2 steps forward, you take 3 steps back. It's just a process. I mean, our ultimate goal is to accept children with intellectual disabilities, and I think that might happen next year.
Yes.
Which again is a family who has 2 children in our school, and they are faithful Catholic mass supporting the parish people. So why wouldn't their daughter be able to come if that's their choice? Yeah, and I mean, there's challenges, sometimes I feel like I could be the principal of just the students with the IEPs
Right.
and the 504s.
Right.
And figuring out students with autism
Mm-hmm.
is, probably the hardest part,
Mm-hmm.
because one student with autism is one student with autism. But it's also rewarding to figure it out, and we have a student who began in 1st grade and now he's going into 7th grade and he's doing great.
Yeah.
So, we probably have 6 or 7, 8 students with autism, and it's a journey.
Yes, it is. So on that journey, do you feel that your faith, and I think I kind of know the answer to this, but tell us how your faith has shaped your approach to inclusion.
When you walk into St. Pat's, there's a mural that says "All are welcome," and we have that song "All are welcome," and so, do we mean it or don't we mean it? And just our gospel stories of Jesus bringing in, the public sinners, the people who no one wanted to be around, the lepers, all those incidences. Who am I to say you can't come to St. Pat's, when that's the model. And then, we just had the great Pope Francis, who talks so much about inclusion of people, and not only in Catholic education, but in everything.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, that's, how can you not do it?
Every time I walk into St. Pat's, I can feel it. Like I can feel that your faith, that you are the leader of St. Pat's, and your mission and your purpose permeates that building in every way, shape, or form. So you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you. And I know you mentioned about being on retreat right now, and that's just something that's really important to me. Just taking that time away and just listening, seeing what God has to say. And the faculty is kind of looks forward to me sharing about my retreat experience and what was a couple takeaways and messages. And I haven't always done that. And it's a kind of vulnerable spot to be in, but there's graces in it. And I think there's the modeling for me to share my faith, and then teachers be able to share it if we do a breakout or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
and that's why I picked you for Beacon Academy for our new teacher formation program that we're starting, because I really do believe that is the center of everything we do, and we have to be the models of that to our teachers, because the teachers are the models of that to our students. So yeah. So you talked about the Notre Dame programs, and they all fall under the Alliance for Catholic Education in Notre Dame. And one of the things that we have in common is you went to PI, which is the Program for Inclusive Education, first. And then I asked you about it, and you said, oh my gosh, you should definitely go. And it was really, really hard, but it was really, really good.
Hardest thing I ever did.
Yes. But so what were any practical tools or approaches that you've adopted to strengthen St. Pat's culture while supporting those diverse learners? Anything specific that you can hone in on, or just general overall?
I think overall, the mindset of you can figure it out. you can make it work.
Mm-hmm.
I always, tell our kids every morning, like, you can do hard things. And that program was hard.
Mm-hmm.
And probably every day of the program, I thought I was going to drop out. Like every
Me
morning, I'm
too.
like, no, I can't do this anymore. But there was that goal of just wanting to know more about how to serve kids. Um, the really practical thing for me was I am like middle school and high school focused, secondary. So the practical, how do students learn how to read part that probably primary teachers take for granted, that was a huge learning piece for me.
Yeah, that's so
I
interesting.
don't get like the diagraphs and all that. And so that was just eye-opening. Like I didn't really know all that learning, that reading
so
part.
Cool. That is so cool. I never would have thought of that. Like I never, of the program for inclusive education, that's not what I would have ever thought of. So that's really cool. I love that answer.
Yeah.
So can you share a story when the culture of inclusion at St. Pat's made a significant impact on a student, on a family, on a staff member?
So I'll go back to our student with autism, and he was in another private school, Catholic school, and in kindergarten. I think he had an okay experience, but then his first grade teacher just it wasn't going well. And the family was committed to Catholic education. And I remember the phone call. They called me, and I was like, yeah, we'll try it. I had a really good, strong first grade teacher, and we just kind of worked through it. And right now, he's very successful in 7th grade in honors math. The kids just, he's just one of the kids. We're the guys. And I think that's the one that stands out most. The other one was actually Susan Schuler and Michael.
And they will probably be a guest on this podcast at some point, God willing. They're on the docket. So
yeah. So, she called me. They were moving to the area. And she talked about Michael, and we were ready. We were like, okay, let's try it. But at the time, our 8th grade was all girls, and she had a boy going into 8th grade. So it just wasn't a good fit for her 8th grader. But yeah, it was a time when I thought, I think we can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and it's funny because I didn't know that story, actually. I didn't know that. But there's a lot of similarities between you and Bud Tosti, who was the principal at St. Catherine's of Siena, where Michael eventually wound up and graduated from. He was there in 2nd through 8th grade. And now Michael is going to be a senior at Archbishop Carroll. But I do see how it would have been a win in either way, because you and Bud are really, really similar in your philosophies of inclusion and acceptance. So, yeah.
Yeah. It was, it would have been great. But you know what? Maybe it just wasn't the time. Right. And I think now is really our time.
I know. We need one for you. We need that. So many principals struggle with unifying their school community around a shared vision. So how have you been able to build such a strong faith-centered culture at St. Pat's that brings everyone together?
I think part of that is by modeling and sharing my faith, but then also asking teachers sometimes to step up and share their faith in a more public, maybe just in a faculty meeting, but kind of taking on those leadership roles. And then I think even in the bigger population of St. Pat's families and community, I'm just pretty open about my, Catholic faith and love of Jesus, and that our mission above all things is to help students build a relationship with Jesus Christ. And I teach an 8th grade religion class every year, and that's what I say to those parents. I'm not going to harp on, and I shouldn't say harp, but focus on, what dates about when this happened in the church and that happened in the church. But my focus is going to be sharing the gospel with the kids every day, asking them to see what they think about it. What do you think Jesus is saying to you? And build their relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that too. Like, I think that is really our primary responsibility as Catholic educators. We have I've said this many times, we have 16,000 hours between kindergarten and 12th grade to get their souls to heaven. And we have to make use of every last minute of it.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I think for everybody, it's just about our relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So sometimes it's hard. I mean, you've mentioned that when you started at St. Pat's, we face challenges with staff for buy-in for these inclusive initiatives. So what kind of strategies have you used to get that buy-in, aside from there's the door, which is always a powerful motivator, but there's a lot of other work that you do, I know, before that were ever to happen.
Yeah. So I think, being in the classroom, just even though it's one class a day, and having to adapt the test, having to read the test. My tests are all essay questions. So having to maybe preview that with the student, I'm doing what we're asking teachers to do also. And I need help with that. So, I'm asking our learning support teacher about how to do that. This year coming up, I think there's like 5 or 6 students with IEPs. So I am really going to be helping, asking our learning support teacher for a lot of help. So I think being in the classroom, modeling what needs to be done. And then, I don't have all the answers. So I need to get help and guidance.
Yeah, you're walking the walk. I mean, there's no other, I do believe that that's the best way. Example is the best way to model what you want to achieve. And, if we don't put ourselves out there as leaders, we can't expect our teachers or anybody else we're trying to lead to do the same. So I love that. So we kind of talked about this in our pre-chat while I was setting this up. Sometimes principals worry about balancing academic rigor with a welcoming culture. So how do you ensure that academic excellence and inclusion thrive without compromising either one of them?
The first thing was to message that to the teachers. And then the second step was to message that to the parents, that we are not going to lower our standards. Your students are still going to get a rigorous, top-notch education. And so that was important. So those were 2 important pieces. 1, the teachers, and then 2, the community. Mm-hmm. And then, we talk about differentiation. How do we do that? We have spent a lot of time on how do we reach the learners who are struggling, but then we've also focused on how do we challenge the students who need to be challenged. There are those students who are up there, those 2 or 3 or 4 sometimes in a class, that need to be pushed harder. So how are we differentiating for them? I think our middle school math teacher is an awesome example of that. And then, I don't know if you're going to get there, but we have two teachers now in the Graces program.
Yes. This is a perfect transition. That's what I just wrote. Transition into UDL. And that's the next segment. Yeah.
So that program and them being now the leaders and the models for UDL, and one teacher's in kindergarten, one's in 5th grade. And we have teachers who are good at UDL, but I think that this program is going to just really strengthen that. And I want those two teachers, Karen and Allison, to be the leaders. I don't have to be the one giving the message all the time.
Absolutely.
Just like our learning support teacher or our guidance counselor, there are other people who can give the message.
Yes. Distributive leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So you did a great transition into Project Graces and Universal Design for Learning. So kind of, my audience will always hear about Project Graces, and that's like my little baby of a project that combines the MTSS for the principals. That work is, the principals are working through the MTSS systems of support, and then they picked 2 teachers to work through the Universal Design for Learning framework. So what about that, besides me begging? I didn't really even have to beg, but me pushing you, attracted you to Project Graces, and why did you encourage your teachers to join it?
Well, I think one reason I encouraged them was, I went to them personally and told them about the program and said, I think you would be amazing for this. And because a little bit of what I mentioned before is that we need leaders in all areas at St. Pat's. It's just not in the principal's office, so and so I wanted to develop those leadership skills and also that expertise, for them to have that expertise. And as far as the MTSS part goes, with so many students with 504s and IEPs, and some students who are in our student support team process right now, and some who are getting tested in the summer, it's constant. Looking at those different levels of support, I just felt like I needed a refresher on that.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big part of the Notre Dame program, but my learning support teacher and myself are doing that MTSS part. And we've kind of identified that we're good at tier 1 and 3, but we're weak in tier 2.
There you go. That's and I think that happens a lot. Because tier 2 is tricky, because you can deliver tier 2 within the regular classroom, and we really need to empower our regular education teachers to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that they're really trained in that. They don't really know how to do that a lot of times. I think when you become a primary teacher, you just assume that you're going to teach in centers, and that kind of becomes part of your everyday kind of stuff. But as the kids get older, those centers really, and that differentiated instruction really go away. And if we can convince the upper grades that type of station rotation, even if we don't call it centers because everybody thinks that's a primary thing, that is the ticket to differentiated instruction.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's awesome. So what do you think those 2 teachers are going to do differently next year in their classrooms? What do you think they'll look like?
Well, I think physically their room is going to look different.
Mm-hmm.
And I know already that they have been looking at lesson plans that they've done in the past and looked at to see, did I meet the needs of all the learners? And Allison, our 5th grade teacher, has said to me, there's so much that I need to revamp. Karen in kindergarten probably does it a little bit more because, like you said, she's in the primaries. But I think just the intentionality of looking at your lessons. Mm-hmm. And maybe you're starting out with, a handful of lessons that you're going to really work on and focus, and then from there keep building. But I think that physically it's going to look different, and then I think the delivery and the way that the kids are structured and moving around is going to look different.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see it. So, how do you support those teachers, especially when there's like what challenges do you see implementing UDL, especially when from the perspective like of dealing with other teachers? Because I remember when we started this, someone said to me, "Well, what's going to happen when you have a fifth grade teacher who has totally revamped their classroom and teaches within the framework of universal design for learning, and then all of a sudden they go to sixth grade and they don't have that?" And my answer to that is, well, that's a good problem to have. Like, I want to have that problem because that I think will spur what needs to happen. But how would you handle that problem? Like,
Well, so my plan is to have like little field trips within the school.
awesome.
So when Allison and Karen are, I would check in with them. What's your schedule? What lesson are you doing? And then figure out the coverage for the sixth grade teacher to go into the fifth grade, or the first grade teacher to go into the kindergarten, and just be able to see it in action. And then they have those resources there. So I'm thinking many field trips.
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea. That's awesome. Yeah, because I do think we learn most. I mean, even kids learn when their peers, more from their peers, good and bad, but always good. Yeah, I definitely think that will be I'm going to write that down so that we can take that to other principals. So what impact do you hope that these universally designed classrooms will have on your students?
I hope that students will know that they can be successful and that they can learn the way they need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And that if they need a little extra help on this specific topic, it's okay. And if they already have it and they need to go deeper, that we're going to be able to provide that for them. And I hope that it allows students to advocate a little bit more for themselves, along with the teacher being able to, have their data and their input in that. So I hope it provides maybe some more conversation.
Yeah, I love the advocacy part of it, because one of the premises of UDL is we do offer a lot of choice with universal design for learning, but it's also coupled with the thought process of why did you make that choice and did it work or not work for you? And when you can get kids thinking about how they learned something, you are giving them a skill that is never measured on a test.
Right.
That's not something that we measure on a test, but that makes them a lifelong learner, that they always know that they have to hear something, they need their vocabulary words before they read that, or they'd rather watch a video on something so that they can stop it and start it, or when they take a test, they want to sit in that seat.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the things that are hard to measure, but are immeasurable because they have the greatest impact on the autonomy of students.
Yes, and I think when we started our STEM program and hired a teacher for that, specifically just for STEM, that was part of what I was saying when I was interviewing, is that I want to give the opportunity for students to fail. I want them to be able to think like, that didn't work, and I'm not just going to ask the teacher to fix it, or am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? Is this right? But I'm going to step back and say, what could I have done differently? What's a different way to do it? How did the other person do it? So being able to have that rigor, but also that deeper thinking process.
Yeah, because it really puts the responsibility so often I think our teachers feel so responsible for all the learning in the classroom.
Mm.
It's overwhelming. And one of the premises of universal design for learning is to put some of the onus of the learning back onto the student and really show them and support them how that goes. But at the end, we are just making them better learners.
Yeah. And when you before we're asking about like culture, I think that's part of the culture that we've tried to build there, and also model. I mean, I'll say to the eighth graders, wow, you know what? I never thought of that. That's a really great perspective that I never thought of. Thanks for sharing that. And I think the more that we're able to do that with students, and it's a kind of a back and forth, that I don't have all the answers. I can't give you all the learning, all the whatever. You also have things to share with me and the whole classroom.
Yeah. And that's part of our faith too. Like that speaks to who we are as faith-filled people, that we have to learn from each other. Yeah, I love it. Okay, we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to start to talk about more in depth into the Notre Dame programs and leadership, because again, I mentioned about culture. You were kind of the culture guru, but I also think you're kind of a leader guru too. So tell us what programs at Notre Dame under the ACE umbrella, the Alliance for Catholic Education, have you participated in?
So I did that program for inclusive education for Catholic schools. And currently I am in the Principal Academy Fellows under ACE. And that's a 2-year program. I'm going into my second year. And it is a program focused on faith, also focused on best practices, and really honestly looking at your skills and your deficits, and how can you move your school forward. The best thing about the program is the coaching model. And so I have a coach that I meet every week. And, we talk about goals. She holds my feet to the fire. If I say I'm going to do this in 7 classrooms, the next week she's saying, how many classrooms? For me, going into this second year, so my first year, my focus was on non-negotiables in the classroom. Like, what are my non-negotiables? They are that students are engaged, that students are turning and talking, that it's not just the teacher, that there's that sharing and that back and forth, that objectives are always on the board, and they're referred to. Today we're going to learn this, and this is why we're going to learn this, and we're going to check out at the end. Did we learn?
So UDL, that's
right.
So UDL,
and. Honestly, you would think that they were like 2 or 3 easy objectives, but it took almost all year to get people to buy into that the objectives were important. And now my second year, my focus is going to be more on the coaching model and not on the evaluative observation kind of model. So my plan is to start with probably 5 or 6 teachers, maybe do like an 8-week cycle of coaching, and then move into another 5 or 6. And, if a teacher in that first little group needs more coaching, just to keep doing that.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. We talk about that a lot, even at our central office. And I do think that we haven't helped our principals learn how the difference between being an administrator and being a coach. It's definitely 2 different hats. And our principals need to learn those skills, because I do believe that's a skill. But our teachers need to understand that too, in terms of, is she in here as a coach, or is she or he, or are they in here as an administrator? Like, because you definitely feel differently about that. And I think it would be a great initiative for all of us at OCA to kind of, spend some more time working through that coaching model with our principals. I think that would be really beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, I agree because I just know how it's benefited me just this past year. And it's so easy to get caught up in all the administration of being a principal and not the other pieces. So easy to do.
Yeah. And I mean, it's really hard. You know, our principals are like one-armed paper hangers, Catholic school principals. It's I think it's one of the hardest jobs in the world because you are the nurse sometimes, you're the janitor sometimes, you're the, and you don't have a vice principal, do you? Yeah. So maybe we can ask Father, maybe he's listening. Father, I think we need a vice principal.
I do have a director of early childhood.
Well, that helps.
So that is a huge help.
Yes,
yeah. Take care of pre-K, 3, 4, and K.
Yeah. So one of the things that Notre Dame talks about in all of their Alliance for Catholic Education initiatives is it's always connecting people with networks of peers nationwide, really. I know I have friends. I just went on vacation in the fall of last year, and I stopped in Denver to see a person that I went through Pi with. She was in Philly, and she for a wedding, and we met for a drink.
Nice.
So I have, and we're planning something this summer with some of the people. So that network, that community, is really important at Notre Dame. So how has that supported you? And like, what's a takeaway from that? The benefit of that community for you?
I think sometimes it can feel isolating as a principal. And so just knowing that other people are in it with you. So in my cohort, my fellowship for the Leadership Academy, we have WhatsApp.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we're all in there. And, people might say, I don't know, like, what'd you guys do for your 8th grade class trip? Or, hey, this principal in my diocese just got awarded this, and you're congratulating that person. Or people asking for prayers for someone had a student who was really sick. So you just, and then when you see each other, because we see each other for 2 summers, I'll be going back out there in July. And then we do 2 visits to different schools. So this year we were in Milwaukee in the fall, and we were in, oh my gosh, where'd we go in the spring? It'll come to me. And then we have a retreat. So this year the retreat was in Tampa. Next year it's in Arizona. It's really rough.
You can't really go wrong on retreat in a warm place.
No. And then
it's tough to go on retreat in a cold place. Yeah.
And this year I will be coming to Philly for some schools, and then also Boston.
Fun. That would be great. I would love to meet some of them, if you need an entertainer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That would be fun. So we talked about all these responsibilities that principals have. They have budgets, they have parent concerns. So what are some specific tools or frameworks or even strategies have helped you kind of prioritize and figure out what to tackle, when to tackle it? I mean, you have 18 years under your belt. There's got to be something that you've learned in 18 years, right?
I would say that while you want to get right in there and you want to fix it or you want to make it better, you need to take a look around. And even now, I need to take a look around to be, are we ready for this? Or who's ready for this? Or who are the people that I want to run this idea by first, get their input, tweak it, and then put the idea out there. So I guess really it's about being collaborative, and then also collegial. And I mean, there are so many things that are running through my head right now where I thought this was the way to do it. And then one of my teachers would say, how about this? And I was absolutely. That's a way better way to do it. The schedule. I don't have that kind of brain, but I have a teacher who is a mastermind at the schedule. And so I might think, let's try this. And she'll be like, this is the way, so it's really just trying to identify people's strengths and just going with it and asking them and getting their input. And,
I think that's part of what makes you such an effective principal is that, I think it's important that everybody knows their strengths and weaknesses. And you are so verbal about taking somebody else's strength and making it yours. I love that. I think it's great.
Well, when people say things like that, I just say, I have great people around me. I really do. I have great people around me who support me and who make my job easier, who make St. Pat's so good that I guess maybe one of my most important things I would say that I do is I put good people around me.
That's a skill. I mean, that doesn't happen all the time. Like if you don't have good people to support you, you could have all the best initiatives in the world. And if you don't have people that are on your bus or on your train going in the same direction, you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, when my tech person says we need this, I say, okay, because you're the expert in tech. You're the expert in math. You're the expert in, STEM.
It's great.
Why would I not?
Well, if I don't last at OCA, I'm coming to St. Pat's. So what do you think for anybody out there? This isn't a commercial for ACE, although it might sound like it is. It's not. It's not a commercial for Notre Dame. I went to Penn State, but I do love Notre Dame.
You drank the Kool-Aid.
I did drink the Kool-Aid. So in the Catholic Disney world, Disneyland at Notre Dame, so what do you think the most rewarding benefit or the best thing that you've gained from both of those programs?
I think that the one thing that energized me the most about both of those programs and is continuing to is that everyone in them is about the Catholic mission. They're about the Catholic school mission.
I was hoping you would say that.
That's what drives everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, it's so energizing to just be in that environment. Like I never want to leave the principal academy. Like I'll be in withdrawal next year, the following year.
Do it again. Maybe you can do it again, right?
Yeah, right?
Can you do it again?
I don't think so. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just about the Catholic mission, and that is what drives the Catholic faith and the Catholic school mission. That's what drives those programs.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I can't say it enough. I do think that my participation in Pi, going to Notre Dame for those 12 days last summer, which I felt like about 12 months actually, really put me on a trajectory that I never saw myself doing where the road that I'm going on. Like, I think this podcast is part of that. I think it's just making it just be like the videos that I make, and you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I never thought that I would be like I loved Catholic education and I loved the mission of it. And I chose it for my kids and I loved it, but I never thought that I would be like as on fire for it as I am. And I really do attribute that to Notre Dame.
Well, I actually think when you came up with the Graces program, I was like, Maria is lit. She has got this like Catholic identity fire under her, and I just saw that through the Graces program, and
yeah. So full disclosure, you might be the first one to hear this. I don't know if I told you this, but I'm applying to REMIC.
Oh, you were telling me.
I am. I'm going to apply to REMIC. So keep me in your prayers next year as I'm there for a month for the next 2 summers in a row.
And those people work so hard because we
know.
were in the same dorm as
I
them.
know.
And when I was doing pie, and I thought I was working hard, and then I saw the Remick people. I was like, oh,
I know.
But
I need
such
my
an awesome-
master's. I need my master's, and I feel like I just don't really believe that somewhere else would give me what that is going to give me in the role that I kind of in now. I just feel like there's really nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
It has to be that.
Yeah. People who come out of the Remick program are just so prepared. It's great. If I didn't have my principal certification, I would be going to the Remick
Well, you
program.
could get another master's. You're allowed. We could do it together. All right. So let's kind of get into, we talked about a lot of heavy things here. So kind of get me into, like, I want to talk about your hobbies, your family, your free time, like what makes you tick. So what do you do for fun, relaxation when you're not, mission oriented, inclusive oriented, culture oriented Patti O'Donnell?
I would say my family, really very important to me. My friends, I love the beach, love to read. I have a dog that, his name is Irish. How appropriate.
So tell me about this love for Notre Dame. Where did this come from before? I mean, you loved Notre Dame. You were a Notre Dame person. You're a domer. You didn't go to Notre Dame, right?
No, only in ACE.
Right.
So it goes back to my dad, and he was a big Notre Dame fan. And I remember asking him why, and he told me two things. He told me, one, that when his grandparents came over from Ireland, that Catholics couldn't get a job. They were put down. And the one Catholic thing that people had a lot of pride in was the Notre Dame football team. And so Catholics hung their hat on that football team, traveling all over the country, beating the top teams in the country, and people hated it, but Catholics loved it. So that, and then also being, having a lot of military in my family, and my dad was a Marine, and lots of Marines and Navy, and actually all four branches. When during World War II, Notre Dame almost folded because all the men, it was all men at that time, were fighting the war. But the Navy asked Notre Dame if they could use Notre Dame to train their officers.
That's right. I did hear that on campus last year.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so the Navy kept Notre Dame afloat. And so those two reasons, and then, just always watch the team. And I probably, I always regret not applying there. I just didn't think I was probably smart enough to go to Notre Dame. But so that's really why, those two reasons.
Yeah, that's right. I love it. So it's kind of, what book are you reading right now? You said you're a reader.
I just finished an Anne Quinn book.
Okay.
And it is called, oh my goodness, it's about a Russian woman spy.
Oh, okay.
And it's a true story. She writes historical fiction.
Oh, I love historical fiction. It's my favorite.
And it's about this woman who is in the Russian army, and she becomes a sharpshooter.
Oh. So are you a reader, like everyday reader, or are you just a vacation reader?
I tend to have a hard time reading during the school year because I'm beat. When I get home, I might, try to read a paragraph, and I'm like, forget it. In the summer, I can devour books. Like, I won't probably even turn on my TV.
Oh, I
I'll
love
just
that.
read.
I love that.
Yeah. And then, there's some professional reading for the Notre Dame program to do. And yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. It's always nice for people to hear, what makes other people tick, especially sometimes your students and your families, Yeah. You like to know that you're more than just a principal in a school, that you actually have a life outside.
I always do like an about me when I do the 8th grade religion class, and they're looking at me like, really?
Okay, so you ready for the Holy Hot Seat?
I am.
All right, so the Holy Hot Seat is just a quick rapid fire questions. You don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about them. It's kind of like the first thing that comes to your mind. All right. So first one is, if you could have coffee with any saint, who would it be and why?
I think it would be, I'm going to go Carlo Acutis, almost saint.
Yes, yeah.
We have a great devotion to him at St. Pat's.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we have a big, huge installation of him, just trying to inspire kids, with his great qualities, and hopefully he's made a saint pretty soon.
Yes, I hope so. I think it would have been awesome if Pope Francis had canonized him, but I also think that Pope Leo is going to be phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Everything happens for a reason, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that'll be really cool.
I'm actually reading a book during this retreat by Pope Francis. Yeah, and he's talking about Ignatius because he was a Jesuit, and just like different pieces of retreat inspiration. So yeah, I love Francis.
Yes, yeah. What's not to love about Pope Francis, right? Okay, so what's your favorite Catholic school tradition from your student days, and then also one from that you have established or was established before you even got there at St. Pat's?
It's funny, as a student, I just always remember the May procession.
I love the May procession too.
It was stinking hot. You had to be in your full uniform. And the knee socks, the whole bit, but it was beautiful. And then after, they had a strawberry festival.
Mary and strawberries.
That's what I remember. Now at St. Pat's, we have started this awesome tradition of honoring our vets for Veterans Day. And I think it's one of the most impactful things that we do.
I love that. I'm going to have to put that on my calendar for next year when I come to that, because I've heard.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Notre Dame football or Notre Dame academics, which gets you more excited?
Oh, that's tough. Because the academics are so they just challenge you and they just make you think so much. But I'm a real sports person, and I follow all the Notre Dame teams on my Twitter feed and Instagram. So, I'm going to go sports.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So if your dog Irish could attend St. Pat's, what subject would he be the best at? What subject would he ace?
Well, besides PE, because he's active, I would say ELA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a reader.
He's a reader.
Yeah, he's a reader. Okay. All right. Beach day or snowy mountain retreat? What's your pick?
Beach. Not even a choice.
Yeah, exactly. No. Mine too. I'm the same way. Okay. What's one quirky habit that you have that your staff or students will tease you about?
Probably that I can incorporate almost anything about Notre Dame into anything. So yeah, they'll definitely joke me about how much apparel I have, and yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have a couple of Notre Dame things, but I won't buy anything Notre Dame sports related. I can't cross the line. I can't cross the line yet.
We won't bring up the playoff game.
No, we will not bring that up.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Anyway, moving on. If you could teach any lesson to every student at St. Pat's, what would it be?
I think it's what I end our morning prayers with. And that is, do the right thing because it's the right thing. And that we can do hard things.
Awesome. Favorite Catholic hymn?
Oh,
I know. We all, it's tough. It's a tough question. They don't call it the Holy Hot Seat for nothing.
Gosh, our kids sing so great at Mass. We have an awesome music teacher. I'm going to say All Are Welcome.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fitting. What's the most memorable thing a student has ever said to you?
I think it was this year. And, this one 8th grader said, I didn't know that my faith was part of my everyday life. I thought it was only in my religion class. I almost started to cry. Yeah. So, yeah, that.
I love it. I love it. You should get him to write that down and sign it, and then you can put it in a frame in your office or something. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your favorite children's book?
Goodnight Moon.
Oh, all right. And if you could have any superpower to make your principal duties easier, what would it be?
I guess probably to read minds. So I would know like what I'm getting into and how much work I'm going to have to do to.
Although if you could read someone's mind, you probably would be quitting. You'd quit. Right. You'd never go back.
I'm out.
I can't do this. And last holy hot seat question all the time is favorite cheesesteak.
Jim's in South Philly.
I knew I loved you. I knew I loved you. It's mine too.
Yeah.
It's definitely mine too.
Yeah.
Have you been to the new cheesesteak place on Broad Street yet?
No,
I haven't been there either. I don't know if I should. Yeah,
I don't get in the city too much.
No, we'll take a little road trip and go to Skinny Joey's and try it out. Sister Melissa has given it a thumbs up.
Okay.
Yeah, she says it's good.
All right. So I have two nieces that live there, so I'm going to have to ask them if they've been there.
Yeah, I haven't tried it yet, but everyone loves it. So, all right. So our signature question, we ask every guest on the Graces of Catholic Education podcast what this one question, we always end it with this. So if you could whisper one piece of advice to every Catholic educator before they step into their classroom each day that would help them shape future saints, what would it be?
I would say love your kids. Yeah, just meet them where they are, challenge them, but just love your kids.
Yeah, amen. Well, thank you so much. You survived your first podcast interview.
Yes.
I can't thank you enough. I mean, your commitment to your faith, to the mission of Catholic education is unparalleled. And I know that our listeners are going to get a lot out of this. So St. Pat's is blessed to have you.
Listen, I'm blessed to have St. Pat's.
Well,
it goes two ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
So to our listeners out there, if Patti's story has moved you, if you want some more information, please share this episode, subscribe to the podcast, and join us next time as we lean into God's grace and celebrate more leaders who are making our schools inclusive places where all children can thrive. And if you want more information on Notre Dame's ACES programs, or you're a parent and you might want to enroll your student at St. Pat's in the fall, the links will all be below, and they'll be in the show notes, and we'll have them on the YouTube channel.